Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Endurance Files. If you're new here, this is the podcast where we talk about everything endurance. We talk with coaches, athletes, and many people, experts in many different fields. Things like psychology, nutrition, and everything is just to help you on your process of becoming the best version of yourself. Today, I have a very special guest with us today. It's my coach, also known as Tim Seaman, Coach Tim Seaman. He's currently coaching at Olímpico College, but he is a two-time Olympian. We'll talk about that in a second. But used to be a 12-time national champion.
Record holder,
sorry.
That's good.
He told me already and I messed it up. But Coach, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
It's an honor to finally be able to talk to you.
Yeah, we never talk every day.
I know. No, but take us back a little. I want to, the purpose of this podcast was just to talk about, I guess, your history, your story, how you became a two-time Olympian, and also how you started race walking. But if you can tell us a little bit about why or how you started race walking in the first place.
Yep. So I got started race walking when I was in 10th grade. I grew up on Long Island in New York, and the race walk event was another event in track and field, just like anything else. The 400, the 100, the mile run, the mile race walk, the 2 mile. And so the coach needed points for the team, so he asked me to try it. My first ever race was on my 16th birthday when I was in 10th grade. And so that was kind of fun to look back and go, wow, I didn't realize my first race for race walking was on my birthday. And so I started a race walk, and I was pretty good. The best I did was third best on Long Island. And so that was pretty good. I went to nationals my senior year. I got 4th place. And because of that and my other performances, I got a scholarship to the University of Wisconsin Parkside. It was an NAIA school in Kenosha, Wisconsin. And so I went there, and I started race walking there. Within a couple of months, I dropped my time almost 5 minutes in the 10,000. I had won junior nationals coming out of high school, which was U20s. And then I broke the U.S. junior 10K record. I walked 44:25 for 10K in September of my freshman year of college.
Damn. And when was that? How was that moment for you when you realized, hey, I'm actually really good at this. I might give this a shot?
Well, a funny background story is that I could never beat a guy named Paul Tavares. Okay, Paul was my arch nemesis from Center Reach High School. Okay, on Long Island. And he had set our senior year, he set the high school record. I think 6:07, 6:08 for the mile. And I was at 6:30. And I just did not have the raw end speed that he did. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to have a clean, fresh break from Paul. I'm going to go to Kenosha, and I'm going to start fresh. Well, guess what? He was one of those last-minute guys that came in right before the season started. And I said, oh, my gosh, he's followed me here. I'm never going to beat him. Mm-hmm. But actually, the opposite happened, right? When we moved up in mileage from the 1 mile race walk higher to a 5K or 10K, 3K, 5K, 10K, he couldn't beat me. And he never beat me in college. So it was just his technique and his endurance wasn't built for the longer distances that race walking requires. So it was kind of cool. We're great friends. And follow-up story, 20 plus years later, one of my athletes, Trevor Barron, broke Paul's high school record at the Millrose Games. Wow. So I got my quote-unquote retribution against Paul, just jokingly, obviously, but yeah.
That's how you decided to start race walking? I mean,
that's how I got started race walking. So then I did it in high school. I went to college. I was 4-time collegiate champion. And then I just decided that I was going to move to Georgia, to a little town called LaGrange, Georgia. And I did that for the purpose of trying out for the 1996 Olympic team. I didn't make that Olympic team, but I went from like 6th best in the U.S. to 2nd. I dropped 5 minutes and 7 seconds off my 20K time, and I just missed making the Olympic team. And at that point, I had what we call 5-ring fever. So 5-ring fever is the 5 Olympic rings, and it's when you have a great desire just to solely focus on making that Olympic team. And you do everything you can to make that team. What are you going to do? You're going to cry about it in the morning when it's cold? No. You're going to cry about it when it's hot? No. You're going to wake up on time? Yes. You're going to eat properly? Yes. You're going to sacrifice everything you can So after the Olympic trials in 1996, when I was second, I convinced the U.S. Olympic Committee and USA Track and Field to give us a residency program at Chula Vista at their Olympic Training Center, which was no track and field athletes were there.
Wow.
None. And so we started off with 3 race walkers. They gave us housing, food, medical. And when you're a poor athlete, don't think that Olympic athletes or Olympic hopefuls make a lot of money, especially in the smaller events. So it's pretty crazy that we were given this great opportunity and we seized it. We took advantage of it in a proper way, right? And we eventually grew to 9 race walkers. And between all of us, we had, at one point in time, we had 4 of us on the next Olympic team because of them, the U.S. Olympic Committee and USA Track and Field, giving us that opportunity to be at the Olympic Training Center.
Gotcha. Well, what were you majoring in that university?
I had a major in political science, a minor in business, and I eventually went on for my master's degree when I was here in San Diego at University of San Diego in international relations. I thought I wanted to be a spy. I thought being Jack Ryan, Tom Clancy's novel Jack Ryan, I thought that was my goal. Gotcha. And it didn't work out, but I think I was better off because of it.
So you decided to study that because something motivated you to?
Just the whole intrigue about espionage.
Gotcha.
and it was pretty cool. But so I really wanted to do that. At first, when I was in college, I wanted to be a lawyer. Then I realized, probably being a lawyer isn't for me.
Right.
And then I said, I want to go CIA. And then post 9/11, you weren't born yet. Post 9/11, they didn't really have the need for a white guy who spoke English and a little bit of Spanish. I didn't speak Arabic.
Right.
There was really no need for me in the CIA.
Right,
so,
right. So you did try to...
I tried.
You tried to...
yeah.
What's it called?
I reached out to the recruiter, and they were like, yeah, no.
Really?
Yeah.
And how, I guess it would be really hard to balance all that, especially for me, being a student athlete. Also, my struggles when it comes to working 40 hours a week and then studying at work and then trying to improve as a runner, traveling, having a girlfriend. Just kidding. No, but we'll talk about that.
Talk about your girlfriends?
No.
Oh, okay. Your current girlfriend or your past
we'll talk about the things
Okay.
the rules that you implement in our team that are kind of funny.
Yes.
But anyways, how did you balance all that when you were in college? Was there ever a struggle for you? Was there
always a struggle?
Right.
Always a struggle. A good partner, when they're a good partner, they will help you. When it's not a good partner, you don't realize they're not a good partner, and it's going to drive you in a direction that you might not want to go, and it's going to be negative towards you, but you don't realize it because you're in love.
Yeah.
Right? And so you don't realize it, and so then you go off the beaten path, and then all of a sudden you're not showing up to training, right? And you're just not doing the things that you need to do.
How did you stay disciplined in all that?
I think I had just good people around me that tried to really let me focus on being the best person I could be and best athlete I could be. And sometimes being the best athlete you can be makes you selfish. True. It does. But if that is your number one goal, and leading into the Sydney Olympic time period, right? I had as that goal, I really want to make that Olympic team. I will sacrifice almost anything, right, to make that Olympic team. And I think we did a really good job, which with myself, my training partners, to have a bunch of us make that Olympic team in Sydney.
Gotcha. Yeah, one of the things I like to mention a lot when I'm talking to athletes is how important it was for me to find the right type of people in my life that, like you said, helped me and pushed me to become the best version of myself. I mean, I was doing pretty well, as you know, my freshman year, and I got really injured, and then that was like a loop where I started getting injured again, and then coming back and then getting injured again. And it was mostly because some personal reasons, but the reason why I decided to come back again, and there was a moment throughout all that where I started thinking if I really wanted to do this or not.
Right.
Because I was like, I'm getting older, I really can't do this again if I get injured and gain a lot of weight again, and then trying to come back, it's gonna be way too late, I would say. And I was like, do I really want to do this? And I think if it wasn't for the people, my best friends, as Angel and other guys there that here in the team, also in Mexico, that helped me, I wouldn't really be here again.
Yep.
And I think that's one. I think one is luck, but I think also you decide with who you want to spend time with and relate with. Was there any like moment in your career when you faced something like that, when you were, I guess, struggling? Then I guess the people around you helped you lift you up, or I guess helped you stay up there in the training and all that?
Yeah. So my career was not easy. I had 3 surgeries in my career. So I had a pelvic floor repair, the first one in 1998. In 1999, I had hernia surgery. And then in 2007, I had a labral tear in my hip. So these are 3, the first one and the third one, pretty major surgeries.
Yeah.
The hernia wasn't. And I'll never forget that, like leading out into the last surgery, I had gained weight and it was like 13 weeks post-op and I still hadn't race walked. And my friend Kevin Easler, who was my Olympic training partner and my best man at my wedding, flew out to San Diego and came to watch me, came to hang out with me to try and get me motivated, right? And he told me later, he's like, Tim, I watched you do 1 minute of race walking, and it was the most painful minute of my life. To know where you were previously to where you are now, it was so difficult to see that, right? So I went from being a really good athlete to being almost like just in pain every single step, right? And that was in 2007, and I missed the 2008 Olympic team, but in 2009 I won nationals again. So you have to look big picture, right? And then I won multiple times after 2009 before I retired in 2014. Like my last race of my retirement, let's call it my retirement race, was indoor nationals. I won USA Track and Field indoor nationals 14 times over the course of my career, including a 10-year streak. I had a 10-year streak from 1998 through 2007.
Wow.
Right? And so I had that streak going, and my last race, I won by 0.12 of a second at 3,000 meters. That was a fight, right? Like I dug down so deep that race at 41 years old to win it. It was pretty crazy,
I bet.
So, yeah.
How did you organize your goals? Because I really ask this everyone, and I've recently, actually 2 days ago, I heard a podcast about one of the best coaches right now at Oregon, coaching professional athletes, saying that you can't really plan way too long. Like for the long-term goals, for example, my long-term goal will be, I don't know, making the Olympics in 2028, which is kind of crazy to say right now. But if I'm thinking about that being my only goal, or like only goal, but like my main goal, I can't really predict what happens in 2 or 3 years. Like for example, I never knew that the pandemic was going to happen.
Right.
You can't really predict that. What you can do is just prepare and be ready for whatever happens in the future. And I think the best thing you can do is, I guess, not completely forget, but mostly forget about your long-term goals and just focus on your short-term goals, the things that you can do every day to improve. But how did you, I guess, organize and your
I think
goals?
the mantra of a ladder helps. So when you have a ladder, you have the top of the ladder. For you, would be making the Olympic team. Okay, but there are many steps along the way. Right? Now, I don't know if the ladder reaches to the first floor, the second floor. For some people, it's going to reach the top of the Empire State Building. They got a lot of steps to make it to the top of the ladder, right? But let's say your ladder's on the first floor and there are 12 steps to get there. What are the 12 goals that you have to accomplish in order to get you to the top? For example, right, for you, okay, what is the pace per kilometer that you have to run for 5,000 to make the Olympic team? It's X.
Yeah.
Okay? Let's put it at 245. Okay? Which is not 245. But let's just for simple numbers.
Yeah.
Okay? 245. Just simple numbers. Please forgive me for a second. So, how many times we know you can run a 245 kilometer? We've seen you do it. Right? You did 5 times 1,000 at 245.
So, yeah.
Okay? So, now what you have to do is, can you do 2,000 meters at 245? We haven't seen it yet. We haven't tried it yet. But that is something that has to be done right? In order to get the 5,000 time. So you have to have these goals. So, for example, if you tell me, and they did this like in a seminar they did at the Olympic Training Center, okay, if you want to do this for a marathon, if you want to do this for 20K, if you want to do this for 10K, leading up to that, what paces do you think you have to do in order to have the endurance to be able to handle that, or the speed endurance to be able to handle that? So, for example, 2:45, what do you have to run for a mile in order to run that? What do you have to run for 800? What do you have to run for 3,000 in order to be able to run? Like, you can't tell me that you want to run 13:45 if you haven't run 8:15, right?
Yeah.
8:15 is 2:45 a kilometer. So the goal for now has to be, how do we do, what's the pace per 400, right? You go pace per 400, can you do that? Yes, we can do that. Okay, can you do it for 500? Can you do it for 1,000? Can you do it for 1,200, 16? As you lead up to that, so that way you can accomplish that goal as a stepping stone. Now, you can do things and you have the big days that pop, right? There have been days where the sky opens up and you just know today's the day.
Yeah.
Right? Like, today's the day I'm going to break this American record en route to breaking this American record.
Yeah.
And we've had days like that, right? But those are few and far between. So how are you going to do it to accomplish it, And there are also days when, like we say, 8:15 is the goal, right? You might be able to run 8:05, right? So 8:15 was the goal, but you can still run faster, but it's just how you're going to accomplish it. So, yeah.
And tell me a little bit about, I guess now, coming closer to the present, your coaching. When did you start coaching? Did you start with only coaching race walking, or did you start here at Kuyamaka? How was that?
I started coaching race walking, 2 women and 1 junior, which is U20 boy. Okay, those are like my first athletes, and I started coaching them, and we had good success. Okay, like, people started to make progress, people started to break records, like their personal records, and it was really, really good. Okay, so I started with them, then eventually more people started to come into the group, and I think we had like 9 or 10 athletes at one point from the US and Canada. Okay, wow. And it eventually extrapolated to the 2012 Olympics, where I had 4 athletes I coached from 3 different countries. So I coached the number 1 Canadian woman, which is Rachel. I coached the number 1 German woman, which was Sabine. I coached the number 1 American woman, which was Maria. And I coached the number 1 American male, Trevor Barron. Okay? And so that was the culmination of all those years leading up to that first Olympics.
Gotcha.
So we had 4. That was tough to be coaching 3 different women in the Olympic race from 3 different countries.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Did you came up with that structure of training, or was it based on how you trained when you were a professor?
Good question. So I think I've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 coaches in my career. Okay? So you have a high school coach who does the best they can with the fact that I have to go to work at 3 p.m. and school gets out at 2:10. Right? You have a college coach who does the best he can with living in Wisconsin when I was constantly hurt because of the super cold weather. Right? And then I switched over to a Polish coach who was 7th in the Olympics in Moscow, and he had a good philosophy, and he was from Poland, and he came over here. My next coach was Enrique. He was from Colombia. He coached the Olympic champion from Ecuador, Jefferson Perez.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? Different philosophies. All 4 of these guys have different philosophies.
Right.
And then the 5th coach, there was another one in between, Coach Ray Koulis. And then the 5th coach, which is Stefan Platzer. We called ourselves Team Platzer. And there was Kevin Easler, Eric Tissa, his brother-in-law, Kirsty Platzer, his wife, and myself. And the 4 of us did training camps together, right?
Okay.
And so Kevin and I and Eric, 3 different guys training for the goal of doing the best we can at the Athens Olympics, okay? And Kirsty was the reigning Olympic silver medalist leading up to those games, okay? And so we trained together really good. And what I learned from Stefan was almost the mantra of the bigger the base, the bigger the peak, right? So you talk about endurance files. If you get a nice big base for a pyramid, right? Let's say good zone 1 training, right? Solid, not just like easy training, but zone 1, 70 to 74% of max heart rate, right? Get that base. The bigger the base, the bigger the peak, right? So if you don't have a base, right, you can't get a big peak. It's the same with, so we use a couple different examples, right? Depositing money in the bank, right? All of those zone 1 training sessions and zone 2 training sessions, right? Deposit money into the bank. When you have the harder workouts, you're taking money out of the bank and you're withdrawing money. So if you try and withdraw money from the bank, right, eventually you get to the championship, you have no money left. And that's not good.
Gotcha.
Right? So that's the type of thing where we try and use these different type of tricks or examples to help the athletes understand, hey, right now we're doing base work, but I want to do something faster. It's not time to do something faster yet. You got to get stronger first. That doesn't mean you don't do fast stuff. It just means getting stronger. And that philosophy, the last philosophy, extrapolated into the philosophy we use for the race walkers now that I coach, and the philosophy that we use here at Cuyamaca. And the funny thing is that Coach Hunt, Tom Hunt, former high school record holder, him and I coach together here at Cuyamaca, and we really, from very different backgrounds, right, we have the same philosophy of training. So it really meshes it really well. I might suggest, we do 1,000, and he might suggest we do 800. But we're never at a point where I'm suggesting we're doing 2-mile repeats, and he's suggesting 200-meter repeats. So it works out really well for us to have that cohesiveness and respect for each other.
Gotcha. No, yeah, actually, I've been talking to a lot of professional runners in Mexico.
Yep.
I think right now I have 3 that I've talked to that are on top right now in the national level. I think 2 of them actually train over here in the United States. One of them is at U of A, Arizona, and then the other one is in New Mexico. They're both twins. And they're twins, and they actually mentioned that a lot. The reason why one of them decided to move to New Mexico was because of that change in philosophy, I guess, of training. Because in Mexico, well, first of all, Mexico is also a bit different, even though they kind of carry that same mentality, but it's actually more of just killing it every day. It's like more of a fighting style, and that's why we don't really see that much growth. It's more they're looking more for that fast
for the immediate
yeah.
right.
Instead of focusing on long term and building that really strong base. They want that really fast, and obviously that's a problem. But when they decided to move to the United States, U of A, training with Bernard Lagat, who he is known for training really hard and not that much mileage, and they started doing that type of training, they realized that it was really not working for them. I think it worked for one of them. One decided to stay there because he was focusing on the 100 and 1500. Yeah. The one that moved out, he's focusing more on the 5K, 10K, and that's why that type of training wasn't really work for him. And I was like, I actually do kind of connect with that a little bit, because when I moved to San Marcos, the school that I went to, it was a different style of training, and I would say it's precisely the same thing. Not much space, way too fast training, way too hard training, and I didn't have that much time to recover. That's why if I was getting injured a lot with this type of training, imagine that type of training where I just couldn't adapt at all. And I think the reason why I was getting injured here is not because of the training itself, is because I was going way too hard, way too fast in the beginning.
Right. And recovery is the key.
It is.
So you know, back in the day, we would go Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday hard.
Yeah.
Okay? Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. You get in shape very quickly, right? So when I was under that type of philosophy, in March of every year, right, nobody could touch me in the U.S. I was so strong and so ready to go. But July and August, when the championships were, right, when are the World Track and Field Championships? July and August, typically, right? I was struggling because I didn't focus on the base, right? So I withdrew too much money from the bank too early in order to have the sustainability to make it to the end of the season, right? So a lot of athletes will come and go, okay, this is what I want to do. I want to do X, Y, Z, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, That's great, but you have to pick and choose which races you do. It doesn't mean you can't do some races. Like in the fall, you're doing some of these road races. They weren't peak races. They were just one of the hard workouts of the week, and that was okay. You know, it wasn't like, Coach, this is the most important race, and then next week this is the most important race, and then this is the most. That's not going to work.
Right.
You will crash at the end of the season, and that's no fun. Or if you try and rush it, then what will happen is that you think you're in great shape, and then you're not. Right? And so then you peak too early because you didn't have the bigger the base,
Right.
a big enough base. Yeah.
So, Christian, I want to talk about the Olympics. Now, it's something that's kind of crazy about what you did, two-time Olympian. What were the two Olympic games that you went to?
It was Sydney in 2000 and Athens 2004.
Talk to us about your experience on those two Olympics and how everything was.
In Sydney, I was training under the philosophy of everything was pretty hard. Okay. And I was in good shape, but 5 days before the Olympics, I got hurt. And so I struggled. I had a piriformis injury, and I struggled, and I finished 40th. It's pretty discouraging, you know, like 2,000, but it was my own fault. 2,000 meters into the race, I was in 8th place. That was too much.
Yeah.
Okay? So I finished 40th, and I did my best because I knew this was going to happen. I've heard it from the previous Olympians, something we call post-Olympic depression.
Yeah.
Okay? So how do we stop the post-Olympic depression? You try and, you know, do other things to not focus just on that bad performance, because it was a bad performance. It wasn't very good. Let's not kid ourselves. Okay? 4 years later, right? Different training philosophy now. The peak was the Olympics. Okay? Olympic trials, great. All of these races led up to this point. Okay? And at the Athens Olympics, right? Kevin Easler and I walked, we left the Olympic Stadium, we were in 48th and 49th place. Last and second to last.
Yeah.
Okay?
Wow.
I remember I got to it was 2,000 meters from the Olympic Stadium over to the course. And I remember my parents were there, and my mom said to me afterwards, she goes, oh my gosh, she goes, I wanted to cry because you just trained 4 years and you were in last place, right? So we were 40th and 49th.
Yeah.
Kevin and I moved up. We raced together just like we trained, and we said, believe in us, believe in each other, and we talked during the race, right? And we ended up finishing 20th and 21st.
Wow.
So we passed, 30 people basically, right, during that race.
Wow.
And it was a kind of a fun time period for us. And there was another American in the race, and he went out hard, and he crashed a bit, and we beat him. And he had this quote in the newspaper, like, I didn't come to the Olympics to pick up stragglers. And so we were straggler picker-uppers.
Yeah.
But we beat him. It's not a cut, it's just a fact, right? So what was the point? Was the point to making the Olympics to go out hard and see if you can hold on? Was it to maximize your performance? I feel, and we feel, that 20th place was the highest place by an American since 1984, the boycott year.
Yeah.
So no American in my event had placed higher at the Olympics, even to this day. Okay?
Crazy.
And also, my time at the time, right, was the fastest time ever by an American at the Olympics. You have to compare apples to apples. You can't go, well, a race in March in Germany doesn't compare to a race in August in Athens, Greece.
Right.
It was hot.
Yeah.
Right? And so on a hot day, I think I walked 1:25:40 or something, right? Something like that. That was at the time the fastest time ever by an American male at the Olympics. It has since been Trevor Barron walked faster than me, and I coached Trevor to walk faster than me, and that's perfectly fine with me, by the way. There's no problem with that. When Trevor was trying to make the Olympic team in 2012, ESPN, Sports Illustrated all did articles on us because the old guy training the new guy, they're like, oh, you're gonna give him a bad race plan so you could beat him? I was like, absolutely not. If I beat him, it's a failure, right? And so, Trevor made the Olympic team at 19 years old. He was actually roommates with Bernard Lagat at the World Championships the year before. And it was pretty cool that, Bernard was the oldest at the World Championships for the U.S. team, and Trevor was the youngest. So it's a pretty cool story.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So tell me something that you learned, I guess, throughout your whole journey. Something valuable. I guess you did mention the struggle you had with that post-Olympic depression and how to, I guess, avoid it, which is, I guess, understanding your purpose. It's not really just running or race walking. It's something that's going to be maybe half of your life, and then the next half you got to do something else. But what was something that you, I guess, learned throughout this whole experience?
I think it's very important to realize, like, yes, I'm an Olympian. I'm very proud of that. I'm very happy. I work very hard on that. But do you know how many people will ask me, hey, I heard you went to the Olympics. Yeah. How many medals did you win? And I said, oh, I didn't win any. Oh.
Yeah.
And it's like, wait a second.
Yeah.
Like, that was a huge accomplishment for me, right? We got 3 U.S. guys in that Olympics in the 20K race walk. First time we've ever had 3 20K guys since they instituted standards to get into the Olympics. It used to be top 3 in the U.S., made the Olympic team. It's not anymore, right? And so I think that, putting things in perspective, right? I used to get upset when someone said, after I didn't win any Olympic medals, because people were spoiled with Michael Phelps. In my time period, Michael Phelps, Marion Jones, multi-medalists, and I didn't get any. That's fine, but I maximized my athleticism on that day. And I think that the most important thing is, no matter who you are or what event you're doing, running, race walking, marbles, horseshoe, it doesn't matter. You want to maximize your potential and do the best you can. And when you walk away, you have to be happy with that result and go, I did the best I could. I have to be satisfied with that,
Correct.
Because, I'm not sure if you know this, but one of my training partners, my college roommate, Al Hepner, didn't make the 2004 Olympic team. And 5 days later, he committed suicide.
Oh, I did not know that.
Okay, so he was bipolar. He was depressed about it, and he had on his mirror, like, it's all about the Olympics. He thought the Olympics was his key to success, happiness and girls,
fulfillment.
Women.
Yeah.
He thought,
wow.
Right? Well, it wasn't true. And so 5 days after the Olympic trials, he jumped off the bridge at Pine Valley. And myself, Kirk Clausen, John Nunn, we had to go out there because his mom called us up and said, hey, where's Al? And we said, oh my gosh. And they said they found his truck on the Pine Valley Bridge. It's the bridge on the 8 when you're going east.
Yeah.
And it's the largest overpass in the interstate system. It's 400-something feet down. And so we actually went out there to look for him. And then Border Patrol and the police were there, and they said, hey, man, you can't look. Like, you'll be traumatized forever. Yeah. So especially from that, it's not all about athletics. You have to have some bigger picture, and you have to have smaller accomplishable goals, because if you just go, I want the top of the ladder, right? I got to make the Olympic team. I have to make the Olympic team. You don't have to. You're still going to get up tomorrow, right?
Right.
And it's the same thing with whether it's the Olympic team or the state championships for Cuyamaca. We won the state championships. There's nothing that we could have done better than we did last year. There's not one thing. It worked out perfect. But guess what? We're back at it. We're trying to, we have to get ready for track season, right? And how are we going to do that? By showing up every day, by being consistent, by having accomplishable goals. I don't want to hear that somebody wants to be state champion. I do. But what are we going to do in the meantime?
Right.
How are we going to get to that point where we have goals, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 before we get to 7, 8, 9, 10? So, yep.
How was that experience of, I guess, coaching a team that just won state? I know you did it before, I guess, right?
Nope.
No, this is the first time.
First time.
I think Cuyamaca has won before.
1993, Cuyamaca won the state championship, and they had, for the most part, I think 6 of the 7 guys were Brazilian professional runners that the head coach wasn't coaching. That's what I've heard. Okay? And so, does it count? Sure. But this championship is won by all local guys that can run to campus.
Right.
That's pretty amazing.
That's crazy.
That East County, San Diego, right? One of the smallest schools in the state. We are 13% of the size of the largest school in the state, Mount Sac, right? We have 13% of the size. They have a $200 million stadium. We have a $1.5 million track. And I love our track. I'm not discounting it, right? You don't need $200 million stadium to be successful.
Correct.
But you have to be successful, you have to believe in a program, believe in your coach, and follow the plan and give feedback to the coach. It's not all just like, Diego, this is the plan. You have to give some feedback.
Mm-hmm.
Like, coach, I'm not feeling that well today. Okay, let's be a little bit cautious. You know, one of the workouts we did earlier in the year, a couple weeks before the state meet, was 1200s on the grass loop.
Oh, yeah.
And Ivan, we had 5 of them planned. And after number 4, Ivan says to me, I need a little bit more time. I said, okay, no problem. Hey guys, you start. Okay, we started the watch for the rest of the team, right? And we went over to Ivan. I said, hey, what's going on? I just need a little bit more time. My Achilles hurts or something in his foot. I said, okay, so here's the deal. Is this a 0.0001% chance of you getting hurt if you do the 5th one, right? And if it is, you're not going to do the 5th one. He goes, yes, there's a 0.001% chance. I said, okay, you're not going to do the 5th one.
Yeah.
And he was discouraged, but when you look back, that was a brilliant move, right?
Yeah, it was.
Because if you, as a coach, say, hey, suck it up, push through it, too bad, I said you have to do 5, right? And that athlete gets hurt,
Yeah.
we don't win the state championship.
That's crazy.
Right? And that athlete isn't getting pursued by D1 schools that really want him to run for them. Right? So that's the thing that you have to realize is that, you know, you have to make smart decisions. So anyway, the state championship, absolute amazing day. 6 of the 7 guys got PRs. 2 of the first 2 guys ran faster than we ever had a Cuyamaca guy run at the state meet. Okay? And Diego missed the school record for cross country by 0.5 seconds his freshman year. We had 2 guys run faster than him, right? And then
Their sophomore year.
Their sophomore year, yes.
Yeah.
And their super sophomore year.
Yeah, super.
Yes. And my 3rd place guy, Dominic, got All-American running 20:31. I mean, that was pretty amazing. And don't discount the 4th place guy.
Yeah.
Right? 21:41, Daniel, as a freshman, that's the 2nd fastest freshman time ever for us. And the 6th fastest freshman time in the year last year.
Wow.
Right? 5th, Orlando, coming through clutch. Yes, he doesn't get a PR, but Orlando was 96th place at 1 mile, at the 1 mile mark. And at the 4 mile mark, at the finish, he was 56th place. He passed 40 guys.
Yeah.
We finished with 90 points. Orlando at 1 mile had 96. Think about that. If Orlando doesn't pick it up, we don't get first. All of these different things that came together.
I think
right?
that's what's awesome about cross country is the team aspect of it. Right?
And 100%.
Everyone had to play.
100%. I was happy with the All-Americans, but much more happy with the team championship because cross country, it's just different than track.
Yeah.
It is about, the number 6 guy, Dayson. Dayson ran so hard, right, to pass guys. I told him, Dayson, I need you to pass 4 guys. He passed 4 guys. He was out 30 minutes throwing up after the race, right? But he came through clutch.
Yeah.
And I don't know, he might have passed some guys that bumped somebody back.
Yeah.
And not to mention Adon, as a freshman, being injured, coming into the program injured, coming out of high school injured, right? To make it to our top 7 and to run like he did was pretty incredible.
Yeah.
And so all 7 guys came through. Adon ran a PR. 6 of the guys ran PRs. Pretty cool stuff.
That's awesome. I think it has to do a lot with, like you said, with the philosophy of training, which I think is probably the best that has worked for me and for many. But I'd like to thank you for your time and everything. This is a question that I ask everyone in the podcast, and I actually took it for one of my favorite podcasts, which is the Running Effect. He asks this question every single time after an episode. But if you had Gordon Ramsay, Gordon Ramsay, the chef?
Yes.
If you had Gordon Ramsay go into your house, what would you make for him?
Would I make for him?
Yeah.
I would either make that I have to personally make or I have to cook?
You have to cook.
Cook or make?
Both.
Okay. Chicken tacos.
Okay.
Chicken cutlet parmesan.
Okay.
Or raviolis, cheese raviolis from a place called Pastosa. So there's one in
Gotcha.
Brooklyn where I grew up, and there was one on Long Island, and there was one on Long Island. And so pastosa cheese raviolis are the absolute best for me.
That's what you would make?
Yeah, that's what I'd make them. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Coach, for your time.
No problem.
We
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Appreciate
It
it.
was a good conversation, and everyone, thank you so much for your time and listening. You make it this far. Thank you so much. And if you want to support, I guess, the channel, I'm gonna leave a link in the description for you to visit that website where we sell our shirts and our hoodies
And sweatshirt. I love the sweatshirt.
sweatshirt. Yeah,
Love the
you got
hoodie.
one.
Yep.
But that's the best way to support us right now. But thank you so much, and I guess I'll see you next time.
Thanks. Bye.